Alright, so let's get started for today. I am going to try my best to look through everyone's submissions. These submissions are wonderful. Let me just show you with a larger view. Okay, so they're looking really, really nice. And the work on one of them was posted, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much. I think everybody else posted their work as well. Before I get started, Portrait Studio is currently on sale still. I've extended the sale till the end of the month, until the 30th of June. There's a lot of people still buying it on sale, which means a lot of people only just heard about the sale or their pay cycle was off. So it would have been very, very inefficient for me to be sending out promo codes for every sale. So please make sure that you guys are aware of this. If you have friends who are looking to own Portrait Studio who might benefit from it, please share with them. And hopefully by the end of the month, because I have a birthday week, so we're all taking off starting tomorrow into the 2nd. So we might end up delaying the update just a little bit because I don't want Abu to work on vacation week. So the update will definitely come out for July, as well as the close of the sale. So there won't be any more 50% off sale, and the price of Portrait Studio will go back up to $90. So if you don't know what it is, I've used it so many times. You can have a look at the little trailer at the top of the Reddit. To join the Reddit, go to istebrak.com and click on the little Reddit icon to get you to the website, to the Reddit, so that you can see the quick little video. Or go to istebrak.com and click on the store icon to buy my brushes, which are also on sale until the end of the month at $30 instead of $40, and Portrait Studio is right here. Mac is currently not on sale, I'm so sorry. iOS and Apple and all that is very, very tricky to work with. Hopefully Portrait Studio will come out as a mobile app, but obviously it'll be a much smaller version, a much lighter version, with all the main tools like customizable bust and figure and some basic forms. We're trying not to make your phones explode, but still give you the same hands-on, on-the-go reference generation power. If you want to join as a patron, please do. As a watcher or a higher tier, any higher tiers come with lots and lots of rewards. The apprentices get the exclusive videos, both monthly streams, which was uploaded today for last month, and my time-lapse videos for my personal work and commentary, JPEGs and PSDs, homework, access into Discord, which is our private apprenticeship Discord only for apprentices, as well as all brushes I use. Every last brush is offered with each group, so whatever brush I use for that month for my personal work, I give it for free along with the rest of the rewards. There is also a challenge currently running on our Discord. It's a really, really exciting challenge. I love it. I love things that glow, and we're focusing on textures being original, as well as combining texture, light environments, physics, and character design all in one, and gestural character design. So that's the beauty of illustration, is when we combine more than one element together to create a creature or a person or a thing. So if you want to get in early on those challenges, please join. There are other challenges I might be uploading from the past for our community and for our public community in the future. So after I come back from my birthday holiday, I will be announcing the next challenge for our community, which is a past apprenticeship homework. It might be the the archaeologist mage, which is a character design, what is it called, prompt, and it's basically a character that you build around these two keywords. So it could be a female archaeologist who uses their power to help with their task. So the power has to kind of reflect the task. Or it might be the one that is currently running today, which is the texture glow challenge, the character design. So it might be one of those two. Don't start on either one yet because I haven't announced it. I do vary them a little bit for the community, and because I have a little bit more time to write them in comparison to apprenticeship, which I have to write right away. So I have a little bit more time to be to push the creativity a little bit further and maybe make a bit more of a strict brief for the community version. Okay, so if you want to join as an apprentice, for all of that, just go to istebrak.com and click on the little Patreon icon here. And if you want to join on Reddit, and Portrait Studio is on sale. And that's it for the announcements. Let's get started on these pieces. What's everybody talking about? It's okay, I don't need layer control. Thank you though, Twiggy, I appreciate that. for uploading the PSD. Slight fan noise. There's nothing I can do about that because I'm using a friggin' Yeti, and it tends to catch all the noise around me. The fan noise is coming from the kitchen, I think. Let me see if I can turn off the... Okay. It might be my computer fan though, so I'm not sure. But I am sorry about the hum in the background. Maybe play some music while I'm teaching so that you don't hear it. Okay. Let's get started. So this piece is based the homework. This challenge, this entire community challenge, is based off a write-up that I provided in the brief, as well as a download link to the resource pack on Dropbox. And I uploaded that for anyone who was interested in debriefing on the challenge specifics on Facebook and Twitter. But basically what it is, it's a character who has stolen something of value, which is this glowing magical source of energy. And they are being pursued by a very, very aggressive thing, an infrared, kind of like a zombie, but a little bit more angry, a little bit faster. And I gave you many different moments in the plot. They were all action-based that you could choose from to capture the action and the movement of the scene, whatever the scene might be. So there are many pivotal moments. There's the moment where he first comes upon him and then he kind of towers over. There's the moment when he's lifted up. There's the initial glare magical spell that kind of stuns the infrared for a little bit, and then there's the final magical explosion towards the end, which is sort of the climactic devouring of the infrared by the light, and the light turns out to be a living creature. So if you want to read that, go to my Facebook, and it's the most recent post that I made, and you can get the Dropbox link for that and download that resource pack. So it's all about action scene. It's all about action, movement, high energy, Dutch angle, trying to invest as much action as possible in gestures and lunges and camera angle, high, low, as well as whatever expressions and whatever movements are there, as well as lighting. So I'm just going to be looking at who did this the best, which one is the most immersive. One of the ones that I really, really appreciate here is that the way you built your mood board is really, really great. So the scene that you chose was when he gripped him in the air, and then Simon, the little boy who stole the light, lets go of the little magical artifact, and because of the pain he's in, so he let go of it, but it didn't fall. The light stayed afloat because it's a living creature. So that was a requirement there. And what I want you guys to treat these as is if you're being, if you're hired by a writer and you're getting into commissions and you're getting into building your portfolio, you have to learn to work within restrictions and learn to work within narrative specifics that you have to match in your book cover. So if this was a book cover, it wouldn't really make sense for the light to be by his hand. It would make sense for the light to be up here and the hand to be on the ankle. So the ankle is definitely, it's right here. The ankle broke. Ankle peaked as the infrared gripped and broke his bones in a ruthless, dumb grip. Simon screamed as it lifted him in the air with a whip of its other arm, and he hung there as it lowered him headfirst into its gaping rotten mouth. The flame now completely surged in his palm, and with the pain in his ankle blinding him, Simon let go of the flame. So the flame itself is an active flame, so it would probably be somewhere here. But right following this passage is when we notice that the flame it didn't fall. It was just still afloat. So how do we correct some of these issues here? Well, one of the biggest things that I would start off with is your monochromatic color palette. This is really, really boring. What we want to see is a little bit more excitement in the color, maybe some foliage colors, maybe some greens and dull greens, maybe less blue on the infrared, a little bit more of a desaturated color palette here, because it is a dead creature, and then wherever the light is touching, that's what we leave as blue. So anywhere where there is no light, let's just desaturate a little bit. And depending on exactly how bright this light source is going to be, which brightness you want to represent it as, and that would be up to you. We have to adjust the brightness on the face. And then if the light is bright, so I open the mouth a little bit further, the the arm can be extended because I did describe that it's a very flexible looking creature. So the arm can be extended. The character should be held by the ankle. So another angle that you could have chosen for the character to be hanging with is if their head was, so if this was the ankle and this was the other leg, and the head was this way and the arms were this way, and that's the light glowing above him or somewhere there. So it's kind of swung him around. Or maybe it's the same thing, but the head is here, the whole body is tilted this way, arm, and he's still holding him by his leg. So this was a very, very simple, quick little drafting that you did to figure out the ankle situation. But it seems like you kind of skipped a couple of things in the narrative, drew whatever you had to. You did use Portrait Studio, which is really, really cool. So you could have shrunk him a little bit more. I love that you used Portrait Studio to kind of draft the whole thing. So the two different models here, wonderful, wonderful job building this. The scene is definitely kind of like, I love the lunge. I love that really animalistic crouch forward. It's really, really cool. But the thigh, holding by the thigh, is inaccurate. But aside from all that, let's see how you did with the rendering. So what I would do is start off with the light source. What I think you should do is try to show how this clear opening in the environment, okay, so this opening here in the environment has kind of worked like a closed off room where all the light is coming from. And I'm just laying that light on the ground. And I'm deleting at the foreground. So now we have some levels in between. Because at the moment you didn't have any levels and everything looked like it was in the foreground. And I'm just going to be deleting wherever the light doesn't touch. Also, the light should also hit the ground, so when we have a light above a character, the character casts the shadow symmetrically like a ring around them across the scene. But the light, as well as the cast shadows, are in there. So we have these really long cast shadows from all around. And they just work like a ring. Something like that. So the light's multiple flames cast different shadows in different directions. And then we've got the light itself, which I need to represent a little better. Should have more of a flooding, open contrast to it. And I'm just expanding its light, as you can see. It's brought in a little bit more brightness and strength there. What I would worry about here is just overdoing it with the monochromatic look. So if he was wearing any other clothes, I would recommend you start, addressing what color clothes he's wearing. And see how much of that color will come through the filter of blue. And then now what I want to do is show you that when we are close to a light source, even if it is a gnarly looking infrared or zombie, light drowns out detail. And so wherever the light is touching, that should be a little bit more detail free. So I'm just carefully using dodge tool. Don't want to be a boob about it. And I'm blending. Sometimes you guys bring in texture and your texture looks so dirty that I'd rather not have even a little bit of texture there. Even if it's a zombie, I'd rather a smooth skinned zombie than what you guys do sometimes with texture, because it's just too clumsy and the brush strokes are repetitive and of the same size. The cast shadow that you attach to the arm is actually a little bit in the wrong direction. Oopsie. So then the cast shadow of the head possibly might go here. Or if it's behind him, there is no cast shadow of his head. And I'm being very particular with where some of these lights are going. And I'm just unifying the color somewhere around here. Another thing you can do is just give us just a little bit of extra detail around the eyes, just to show that it is possessed by some kind of power. And that'll help us kind of create a feeling for the character as living rather than, well, it is kind of controlled by something else, but I never really specified that. But still, that it's not technically dead yet, or not fully dead, that it still has something in there moving it around. There goes my pen pressure again. I'm not so sure about this cast shadow here. There it goes again. And I'm just being a little bit more detailed here with where we're placing the kind of skeletal structure. So a very, very large brow bone. And I would need you to be a bit more strict with your edges against the background. Just a bit more work on the character, but really as much as we do, it would have to be a complete rework for us to be able to fill in the outside back in with the character, because at the moment we're dealing with a pretty symmetrical stage, a very boring stage, kind of like a theater stage. There's not much going on outside of the exact center stage. We want to create a scene where we have many elements involved, like this, where we have a wider cinematic view of the scene. But you can pull some of this stuff off if you were to use a vertical canvas. It's just, if you know, guiding the light vertically, or guiding the light as well, guiding the line of sight vertically, as well as thumbnailing as much as possible. All right, so I'm just laying in that fog, and I'm going to just see what I can do to make the light the main thing. It is all about the light at the moment, and that's why we can see, and it's the only light. It shows a very pivotal scene. So a lot of the areas that are looking directly at that main flame need a little bit more brightness. Oops, see. Lost pen pressure again. Guess what tablet I'm using? Wacom. I have to use it because I'm not using my H610 at the moment. I don't have a pen for it because I broke it. Don't ask. And I'm just raising that brightness up. Okay, so we've responded to the light source and we've kind of created a better atmosphere. So before, after, but again, there's really only so much more I can do without rearranging the entire scene, because I would want to see the character from a low view, to see how high they're being dangled, to see how much involvement can't be drawn, can't be added on as a prop. It has to be planned for. So again, what we're doing is adding atmosphere. That's all I'm adding here. And I'm just responding to the magnitude of the light source. So before, looks like a pencil sketch or something, or a pencil crayon sketch, where you have that very, very dull texture. You're using digital. You're allowed to use a little bit more emanating glows and soft brush, airbrush look that you need in order to pull off a real believable spotlight or drowning light, especially in a foggy, closed-off, forested area. You also didn't do much else with the, so let me show you something you can do. You didn't do much else with the forest and the surrounding negative space, so wherever I'm going to delete is going to be the shape of like a tree. Right, so you could have used a little bit more negative space there. These trees are really bad, sorry about that. there's a mosquito in my house, or is that a moth? That's a moth. Okay, so I'm just creating a bit, I'm just working off that symmetry that you had, and I'm trying to, and traditional storybooks and book covers from a long time ago, like the 90s or the 70s, they had really symmetrical looks. There was really symbolic kind of Art Deco book covers back then, or Art Nouveau book covers. So we want something that's a little bit less symmetrical if we're going modern. And I'm just trying to show where that negative space might exist around here. And again, doing my best to create more root work in the foreground. So modern book covers are book covers that have a lot more cinematic involvement, because cinema evolved the way we tell stories, and we no longer tell stories with the stage, so that's why our book covers are looking less and less like stage. And that's why the more and more you work like a stage, the further you get from a believable book cover that is more immersive. Because storytelling has become very sophisticated over time. And so we no longer tell stories like we have the theater. Nobody goes to the theater anymore, unfortunately. It's a good and bad thing. We have cinema to tell the better stories, to tell the better picture, to draw the better picture. Right, so that's kind of what we want to start seeing in the book covers for that's what I want to start seeing in book covers for the community. Is I want to see a movement away from the stage, the simple placement, the symmetrical placement, and I want to see more world built with three-dimensional. I mean, like, it's graphics. Imagine using like actual computer graphics to build the entire scene three-dimensionally, and then generate and render the image. So we're talking about creating spaces. And right now, at the moment, I'm trying to force as much space as I can into this scene, but it's definitely not going to be enough. And over there in the distance, I want to see if I can add a little bit more detail. So some book covers that I would say are more stage-like, I would, Abu, I wonder if you can look this up for me and link me real quickly. The Wizard of Earthsea original book cover. It's a very, very stylized representation of the moment when Ged the Sparrowhawk, takes on a wizarding kind of battle with some kind of duel with another wizard at his school, and he ends up accidentally waking up a... I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but it's been out for almost 40 years, I think. I don't know. So 30 years, I think. Ursula Le Guin died recently, which is really sad. But, Abu, if you can find that for me real quick so I can show everyone an example of, I wouldn't say a bad book cover, but I would say not what we're looking for anymore. And then finally, I'm laying on top the fog, again, to create that feeling of a haunted forest, or maybe the infra itself, the way we stage the scene as we stage it with a little bit more fog. Wonderful way to fill in the base of the scene. Yeah, I don't think Abu heard me, so I'm going to look it up. Okay. Images. So I'm trying to find it for you. It's this one. This is the one I have. Very, very stylized, simple stage. Feels like the camera's right there. We're looking at them. I don't think this is the duel scene. I think this is just one of the moments where he shows off his power to this really jerky fellow wizard at the school. Yeah, so this is very, very stylized. But then we look at book covers done by Mark Simonetti. So let me find, I think that's his name. He did a lot of amazing book covers. God, I don't even know which one to choose. He's just done such amazing work. So there's this piece here, which feels a little bit more cinematic. We have massive depth in the distance. We have this foreground. There is another scene. I don't think he did this one. I just have to go to his Instagram. There's this one, which is amazing. I believe this is Lord of the Rings? I don't know. Then this one, which is my absolute favorite one of all time. It's a little thief jumping around from rooftop to rooftop. They're the only blackest character. Lots of depth. The cinematic Dutch angle that we have here, kind of a Dutch angle. And of course the focal point and the guiding light, the guiding eyesight, the direction created by detail. So this is something we'd see in a movie or in a game. The better we get at our graphics and the better we get at our storytelling, the less stylized we are when we're describing stories. So back then, in the age of, even back in Shakespearean time, everything was just on a stage. People wore costumes and you had to imagine the rest. We don't have to imagine the rest anymore. You have to be good enough to do all the imagining for the audience and create really, really amazing scenes. So what I'm trying to do here is involve a little bit more of the space around the character instead of just that simplistic, but really still very good, but still simplistic, early, back in the day staging, where you don't have that much atmospheric staging anymore. Now we're creating more of an open environment. So now that you know that, it's really more about, and I've always said this, whenever I've critiqued an environment drawing, I've always said, design the space around the character. The environment comes first. The light comes first. Where they design a thumbnail for everything. Everything has a thumbnail. Everything has a little experimentation for it, a little gesture silhouette for it, a little reference found just for it. This moth is just freaking out. This moth is just, I don't know why it's here, maybe for the theme of ghoulishness and bugs and swamp. I guess it's just here to enjoy the critique hour. So I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. When you thumbnail next time, try to thumbnail the environment as much as the character, because looking at your work that you did here, we don't see much of that, do we? So you focused a lot more on the pose, which is wonderful. Keep focusing on the pose, but there's more work to do. It's not that do less work in one department. It's that as much work as you did in this department, repeat it for the other. Okay, so let's continue. For this piece, this is really, really high action. I love this scene. I believe I do describe the flame as blue both times. One of them was actually pure white. So you are working with a cooler monochromatic-ish night light environment, but I do want to see that there is a bit more color other than that. So there's a lot of things you can do with this scene, and a lot of things I can do with it. So let me duplicate it, raise the environment brightness a little bit higher as well as saturation, and then delete at the character. That way we have a bit more of a silhouette and some more depth. So instantly, just by lightening the background, we've made the environment feel a little bit more convincing. It still raises moonlight. One big critical tip I have for designing things at night, for painting night scenes is, and please write this down, you don't actually have to paint black. You don't have to paint black night. There's so many artists who paint nighttime scenes, and all of their nighttime scenes are filled with daytime values. As long as the color is reinforcing the feeling of a nighttime scene, that's as much as you need. And the colors here are reinforcing blue, which is why it's still reading as nighttime, even though we significantly brightened the background. Okay, so now we have a better silhouette, but the silhouette itself, I feel, wasn't your best shot. I don't think this was your best shot at designing the infra. You had so much more spindliness described in the brief. You had more of a zombie-like tendons revealed in the brief. A lot less musculature, I would say, and more of a dumb body occupied by some kind of necromancer, and the body is falling apart or rotting or doesn't have enough energy in it to stay alive in order to become human again. So it's just partially there, not even there. You're just animating a dead corpse, really, and it thinks it's alive, so it's a little bit frustrated and angry if we're thinking about the psychology of a zombie. So I don't think this was your best shot, because all I see is a bodysuit or like some kind of dummy body where it's just padded, so it's something like someone who trains an attack dog would wear so that they don't get mauled. You see, do you know what I mean? Or like a Michelin tire body. Like, it feels a little bit basic. He also gave us a skull head, like an animal skull head type wolf maybe, or ram's head. And it looks wonderful, but again, can't really see it because you didn't place or make the gesture. You didn't develop the gesture in such a way where we could see the full ram's head. You didn't give us anything where maybe it's just still sniffing for him and it's trying to find him. So its head is tilted this way. We've got horn. So horn, head is tilted this way. Its body is right here looking for the guy, or it's crouching, and it's just trying to find him, and it's just there in the distance looking for him. Or maybe, this is the moment where it suddenly shifts its head and it just found him. And that would be really, really cool. So you hid the head, which you invested so much detail in, right behind the shoulder line instead of above the shoulder line. So we couldn't even see, I really have to focus in order to see the two pieces here. So yeah, and then another thing that you did is, depending on how big it is and how far it jumped out of the fog, we have a bit more atmospheric perspective on the distant legs, and it just emerged out of the fog. So again, what am I doing? I'm trying to bridge the gap between symbolic staging and cinematic staging in an illustration. So to recap, what is the difference between symbolic staging that we saw earlier and storytelling and cinematic staging, and the effects that I made on this scene, or the changes that I applied? Oopsie, I forgot to do that. Just correct some of this mumbo jumbo I have here. Another thing that you have, that I have a problem with, is just some of the contrast you have here. So the upcoming community challenge, you need a little bit more contrast, is what I'm saying. The character's also in the bottom right corner, which cinematically is acceptable. But I think it would have been way cooler, and again, another thing you could have thumbnailed, is, and maybe you did thumbnail, you just did the wrong one. At the end of the day, it's how many ideas you can make because of your skill. So it's not, there are many ideas that you would have discovered if you had only just thumbnailed. No, even thumbnailing sometimes doesn't get you enough into the skill level you need. So sometimes you have to do your research. So there's thumbnails and there's research. Thumbnails is what you piece together for different ideas. So let's say you had an idea. Let's represent that with a little light bulb. Okay? And then this idea is exclusive to you. You've only entered from inside your brain. It's an internal idea, and you're exploring different variations of it inside your brain. That is good thumbnailing. This is an excellent thing to do. But when it's only so many and you start seeing repetitions and they start showing the same patterns between each thumbnail, then you have to start branching out and finding different resources that you bring back so that your idea becomes an accumulation of internal ideas and external research. So research and thumbnails are part of the same thing. It's all drafting, it's all blueprinting, it's all the same. Drafting, blueprinting, research, they have to work together. So if you only found in your mind one or two positions to put everyone in on this stage, so in your brain you had an idea and then you found one thumbnail he was here, one thumbnail he was here, and one thumbnail he was lying down all sexy, and then the guy was jumping at him from here, from here, or from here. You have a problem with your imagination. Your imagination is very limited and very boring at the moment. So what do? You research. And how do you research? Well, you go into different movies, watch movies, different action scenes of a character being pursued. So just do a little bit of research on some action movies, characters who are being pursued. Like, for instance, Rise of the Guardians. From the top of my head, another character that was pursued is literally all of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. It's somebody else who wrote the same scene, but of course different characters and plot, but it's essentially the same thing. A character has been pursued, and they've managed to cinematize it so much differently. So sometimes the character's being pursued and they're on top of a tree branch, and the thing that's looking for them is sniffing right there, trying to find them, and they're like lying on the tree trying not to get caught. So that was an apocalypto. Another one that I can think of is so a big rock, a character barely kind of like hiding behind the rock, and then you see a bunch of like standing things looking for him. So maybe it could be the sniffing infrared. Then there's a moment of impact when they all meet each other, and then you have, it's crazy because this is also the thumbnailing topic I discussed today with my patrons. And then we have the the attack, or the character kind of being eaten alive. So we have the back of the monster, which is ready to eat him, holding him up, and he's just flailing around. And then it's kind of getting distracted. Its face is looking at the flame that's afloat, and then maybe he's also like freaking. Well, he's still freaking out. So now we have a low camera that we can show this with, a high camera we can show this with, or a camera right behind the light looking down at everything, and then we make one thumbnail per angle. And then when we try to figure this out and do research for it, well, you can create an entire scene with Portrait Studio that you can move the camera into and see which one you like the most. You can look at movies and different books that describe the very, very similar scene, like when in The Hobbit, in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship, when you have when all 4 hobbits are hiding under that thing, and that Black Rider, the Nazgul, was kind of looking for them, and it was kind of hunched over. They chose the best possible angle for that movie, which is why that scene is so amazing. Hobbits hiding from Black Rider. Images. It's just such a low angle. It really scared the shit out of me watching this when I was a kid. There isn't any better way to film this. There would not have been a better angle to take filming this, because it has to be a low angle. You have to show how big this motherfucker is, and how small they are, and how delicate they were. And there is a leveled scene, but it was just an establishing shot. When it really starts looking for him, when it really starts sniffing for them, and at first they didn't know it was a Black Rider. They were just hiding from passerbys. They didn't want to be seen by anyone. But when we do discover that it's this big creature, and they saw the hooves through the roots of its horse, of its mount, then you started to realize, okay, they're in some serious danger. And the low camera really made you feel insecure, made you feel unsafe. One of the best scenes, in my opinion, and established so well. So that's what I'm talking about when you try to find something similar to this. As for like the clash, when you have a lunging creature ready to attack, there's so many games out there. There's so many clips of game cutscenes on YouTube. There's so many ways for you to explore how another artist captured the same exact impact, and try your best to do your research and discover different ways of working with the same idea. So you're still honoring the idea internal in your own little world, but still branching out and bringing back in. So it's not that you're copying something else. You're still working with your original narrative. And that's how you make an amazing artist. You're combining drafting, making all the mistakes you can make as much as possible before it's time to put everything on cinematic stage. So let's see what the answer is to the difference between symbolic staging and cinematic staging. Okay, so cinematic has less symmetry. Beautiful observation. Excellent job. Combining the character with the environment through depth of field and through contrasting the focal points, the guy and the creature, helps to establish cinematic scene. Research and thumbnails. Yep. You have to combine internal ideas and external researching for successful thumbnailing. Good job. Symbolic staging is based on theater. Cinematic staging is based on movies, moment, and action. Beautiful job, Atelier. Excellent answer. Okay. So you submitted it before on Reddit. Let me see if I can get this in. I might not end up looking at everyone's piece anyway, but let me see if I can find yours, Teresa. I never do this, but you're saying you submitted it 30 minutes before 5 o'clock, so 1 hour ago. I don't think that's 30 minutes before o'clock. Are you Cheeky Heron? Okay. So let me just drag that in real quick. Alright. So moving on. This is an excellent one. Actually, I want to look at this one. This is an excellent one because of the detail. The detail is going to shine through, but you have an issue with your light environment. Again, nighttime scenes don't have to be black in order to be nighttime. It would be very, very unrealistic if there was a cardinal rule that every time an artist paints nighttime, it has to be pure black. There are going to be half of our movies, half their feature length will be just black and a couple of sounds of people running. You have to make things bright enough for us to see it so you can tell the story as if it's a symbolic night, not actually pure black. So what you need to do is bring in an environment. Also the jump, when something is jumping at me, I would rather see the camera from behind him. So imagine this is me laying the camera, like setting where the camera is looking. Right now the camera is looking this way. So if I was the director, I'd bring in the camera and make the camera, this is the most ridiculous camera I've ever seen. And this is where the director would be, and this is where he'd sit, and the cameraman is sitting with him, or this is the director, he's got his little preview of it here, and this is the cameraman holding the camera stick, and he's just pointing the light, the camera over the shoulder of the character. So now you have an over shoulder shot, and it's cinematic, so you have this character who's freaking out, kind of maybe we actually see their shoulder, maybe we see the entire character on the ground, kind of like their knee here, and they're just like, ah, and then they just threw out a last desperate attempt at a light magic, which you again take into a thumbnail page and try different experiments for what the light should look like in the scene. This is boring, it looks like a hairy caterpillar. There are other ways to create the feeling of magic, and this was not creative enough. Sometimes the critique of mine that I have for you is that you're not creative enough. You're not experimenting enough. So one thing could be like an electric wrapping around a main motion of energy. Another one could be just really wispy and really like kind of confused. Another one can be just a straight shot. Or, there's different ways for us to experiment with the same unit so that we're seeing that we are maximizing creativity with everything, with this, with the hand gesture, with the expression, with the hairstyle, with the shirt. Can I really just invest some more wind energy, kind of like a bomb, the way a bomb distributes its energy and everything kind of explodes a mile away, so things are still getting impacted. So maybe this little thing is like a tiny mini magic bomb, and we have the shirt kind of billowing away. So you're pushing creativity and connecting everything together on every possible level. So again, we go back here, the infrared is jumping, this big spider jump on top, ready to just lunge on top of the dude, and we really feel like he's in danger. And then we have this cool little light thing that's happening, and then it's already starting to freak out, so it turns its head this way, and we have all this like grass kind of like billowing away, and there's the trees are towering above, and we have some light environment to reveal the silhouette. So at the end of the day, I would choose this angle with this much detail, with I guess this kind of color palette, but pushing the color palette a little bit more with variety on this kind of canvas. So we're finding the best one, the best characteristic out of all of these and combining them into one illustration. This is wonderful. I feel like you really pushed your referencing, you worked so closely with your reference. One thing I don't like is that you are not really involving the rest of the environment. So you have this really bright light source, and then that's about it. The only brightness is in between the characters, which is way too closed off. It feels unrealistic. One of the biggest ways to interrupt the cinematic staging is to not involve the light anywhere else. If you are ignoring the light in the room and the environment and the space around the characters, you go back to a very, very basic, symbolic, symmetrical theater stage. So as you can see, that was just way too much blackness in the back. And I don't care about the infrared not being bright enough. Another thing is that the light you placed was at the top. So if you're at a loss for how you've organized or how you've distributed everything in the scene, you just have to create a little crosshair and try to find where you placed most of your POIs, and then you'll see if you have too much empty space. So we have a focal point right up here. So let's open a new scene. a focal point up here, focal point up here, and a focal point up here. Completely fill in the scene. And look at that. We have all of the important things on one really clustered section of the canvas, and that's it. That's bad. What I would want to see ideally, the ideal is would have one focal point here, one focal point here, and a minor focal point here, or one focal point here. Or any of these positions, really, it doesn't matter the size. These are the happy spots in a painting. Maybe this is too far out. We just don't put any intensely important things anywhere outside of these dots. So you can choose which one you want, draw around it if you have to. But again, this is what drafting is all about, and the community sorely needed a class on drafting. Okay? So I hope that's kind of described to you exactly what issues you may have with this piece along with your light environment issue. Whoa. Okay, so let's go back to before I drew the cubes because I lost the before and after. Another thing that you did is I'd rather have the foot end somewhere here so that I can show the cast shadow stretching across. The cast shadows really are just the most appealing thing about this entire scene. I love the way that you tilted its head and its face is kind of getting like kind of scorched by the flame. And then you have this massive white bright light that doesn't seem to have any like intense glare in it. That's another thing. It's because of those stupid Transformer movies that people hate lens flare and glare. But glare is a real thing that happens when light hits a lens, and it's a really important factor in creating the feeling of realistic, glowing, high magnitude light in a scene. So you need some of that glow. It's not us just throwing willy-nilly a bunch of lens flare and packaging it and shipping it and it just being referred to as a movie. We're being very strategic with where we place this glare so that we can make it feel like the light really is shining with this intensity. And then we'll have a minor silhouette somewhere here. But wonderful job, everybody. I love this community. Being a part of this community is so incredibly important for your development as an artist and for your development even in your personality. It'll help you develop because you'll learn how to take critique and criticism. You'll learn how to work with people, how to work with a commissioner, how to work with someone who is setting down the rules for you that you have to follow. So it teaches you a lot of patience in dealing with people. Okay, so we have all of this here. Okay, so I would place this foot somewhere there. I'm so proud of every single person who made a submission for this challenge. I'm really proud of you. Oh yeah, he's squinting and looking away. So another thing that you need to do that we pick up from theater, that we still have from theater, is overacting. So sometimes we do have to symbolically represent someone kind of like squinting at the light. So we would kind of put their arm in front of their face so that they're looking away from the light, and this would be the hand that's casting the spell. So he's kind of like moved his eye away, or maybe he's hiding his eyes with this arm. Alright, so it looks more like he's hiding his face because it's hard to tell the detail. Unless we zoomed in, we wouldn't really be able to tell that he's squinting and looking away and kind of drawing away from the light. And be careful when cast shadows are too dark. They don't match their environment. Okay, so let me see what everyone is saying. I learned so much from just your streams. Thank you. Lens flare like the Pro, not like Transformers. Anamorphic lens flare. High magnitude light causes lens flare on the camera. Consider it when illustrating a bright light or magic with high intensity. Light environment is important in cinematic staging. Cinematic's all about framing. Frame based on what you want the eye to focus on and use it to manipulate the mood, low, high, small. And also, something that we can do that we were never able to do with theatrical symbolic staging is immersive POV, so point of view, immersive point of view. Write that back to me. So immersive point of view is something specific to cinema, and that was the over the shoulder shots. That's what the POV shots, point of view shots are. You're actually it's like you're actually the person. You can see your hands in front of you. That's stuff that we've only ever done with cinema. So that's something that we now can design with. That's something that artists use again. So we're painting like we're painting a movie scene. And I think that's the biggest lesson you guys should take with you with today's critique. And then there's this straggler here. Excellent scene. I would definitely rewatch today's critique because I think it came in a little bit late. But I think there are better ways of showing a little bit more distress. It seems like he's just walking all funny, like a dad pretending to be a monster and chasing his kids. Do you see what I mean? But for us to really feel like he's squirming, I would really look at like a reference of something, do some research. So right now you've exhausted your internal idea brainstorm map, and I think you should branch out into some research. So find a scene where a creature-esque thing is dying. So maybe in because right now it's being attacked by the light, so it's being burned alive with the initial stun. So look up that creature from Stranger Things when it's dying and see how it looks, how it like kind of writhes and jerks around. That might help you develop a better gesture that shows a little bit more distress. It doesn't look distressed. It doesn't look like it's crouched. When we're in distress, we enter closed gestures, which are gestures that I define as gestures that don't have a lot of energy to them. So something could be distressed while it's kind of energetically moving away from the light, but it's kind of like something like that. Or it's still creature-esque in that it's crouching and it's still leaning forward, hiding one part, or using its eyes, using its hands to claw at its eyes or something like that to show a little bit more distress. Okay, and this is, again, very, very symbolic staging, very simple, A, B. Nothing is involving the camera. The camera is C over there in the back having some tea. It's not involved. And the camera needs to be busy. The camera needs to break a sweat. It needs to be like, oh my God, this is happening. And then this guy is happening. And I can't film everybody at once. So I have to be in a position where I can show everything at the same time and not miss a single moment. So that would be right here, right beside, to see how the creature might flail around, or right here, but it's not the best one, I would say. And you're going to notice something. A lot of these cameras are very repetitive through different movies. It's not a constantly creative way of finding and staging something. There's only so many things happening, and there's only so many places to place the camera: behind the character, behind the aggressor, in the middle, boringly, in the middle looking out on the floor, which is really interesting, but still behind the character at the feet of the character. So it repeats itself a lot, and it's not a lot. That's a good news, because it's not a lot to memorize when it comes to camera positions. And as soon as you learn that lesson, your illustrations will be the better for it. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's session. I really appreciate everyone who's become involved in the community challenges. The new community challenge will be released. This one won't have a vote on it either, and it will be released by the probably by the first week of July, second week of July. I'm really looking for people to be, I'm looking for lots of submissions before I turn one of these challenges into a contest. The last challenge had very little submissions. This challenge has less. And I can't turn those into a contest because the contests have a lot of rewards involved and a lot of my time. So I fully appreciate everyone who's involved, but I want to see a larger body of students involved for it to be turned into a contest so we can actually have a poll. And the Yaretsi challenge, I think I opened 50 images and I couldn't even get to everyone's. And that was just phenomenal. So I'm trying to give you guys challenges that are involved and really cool. So the next one that's coming up is going to be a character design challenge, which might be interesting to a lot of you. It's also going to be a textural, so it's going to be new to a lot of you as well. But please do join the challenges so that they can have a little bit more of excitement, a little bit more of a community energy to them. This one was a little bit off. I think people are just focused on their 14-day challenges right now. If you want to support me on Patreon and start that challenge, I keep talking about the mysterious challenge. It's available to apprentices right now. You can get started, and the critique hour for that will be mid-July for those character designs. So if you want to join as an apprentice, you'll get an invite into the apprenticeship and start your challenge and start your homework right away. You can also watch last month's little quick thumbnail critique hour. And if you want to purchase Portrait Studio, you go to the store, and it's on sale right now at $45, 50% off its price. And that sale will continue until June 30th, after which there will be an overhaul update. Thank you, Abu, for your hustle, for getting back to everyone on time, for being the most amazing customer service representative / creator / everything. You're the best. We couldn't have done this without you, and I am off officially as of today until the 2nd or 1st. I am off for my birthday week. My birthday was decided it's going to be this 22nd of June. We really don't know when it is. It could have been the 19th. It could have been July. So we've decided it's Saturday. So happy birthday to me, and I'm going to be taking some time off. I already took some time off this week as well. To do some hiking and some fun with some friends and barbecues and all that. So see you guys next month. Good luck with all your homework, and I cannot wait to submit the new challenge to you guys and see what you guys cook up. Bye.